Courteous treatment will make a customer a walking advertisement. I moved to London when I was 21 and I needed a job. I'd just done a year working in Waterstones in Manchester and I was looking for any old job. This advertisement came up for an editorial assistant on Dora the Explorer magazine. Because I'd been working in the children's department in a bookshop for a year, I just nailed the interview. The internet offers an interesting combination of advertising and community. By participating in the community, you can become an advertisement for yourself. When I first began competing, brands were quite hesitant to feature disabled athletes in advertisements, perhaps due to a fear of offending consumers. The advertisements in a newspaper are more full knowledge in respect to what is going on in a state or community than the editorial columns are. Some manufacturers illustrate their advertisements with abstract paintings. I would only do this if I wished to conceal from the reader what I was advertising. It's crucial to keep in mind that the hundreds of millions of dollars now spent on prescription drug advertisements are ultimately paid for by consumers in the form of higher drug prices. It's kind of debatable whether or not the advertisement model is effective, like whether Nielsen works. For years, Nielsen has been based on sampling. It's not like an electronic bullet that hits your house that tells the people at networks at all times what you're watching. It is a most extraordinary thing, but I never read a patent medicine advertisement without being impelled to the conclusion that I am suffering from the particular disease therein dealt with in its most virulent form. Never write an advertisement which you wouldn't want your family to read. You wouldn't tell lies to your own wife. Don't tell them to mine. Advertisements may be evaluated scientifically, they cannot be created scientifically. An epitaph is a belated advertisement for a line of goods that has been discontinued. Being attracted to my own sex was as much part of who I was as being short or blonde or drawn to the library, but I was made to grow up feeling other. Most books, films, even advertisements, didn't reflect how I felt, and I often watched the world from the outside. I have made it a rule for a long time, not to part with the copyright of my drawings, for I have been so copied, my drawings reproduced and sold for advertisements and done in ways I hate. I hope I never get so hard up I have to do advertisements. I've gotten ridiculous offers. Those who prefer their English sloppy have only themselves to thank if the advertisement writer uses his mastery of the vocabulary and syntax to mislead their weak minds. It's kind of debatable whether or not the advertisement model is effective, like whether Nielsen works. I'm not a very good advertisement for the American school system. There is no need for advertisements to look like advertisements. If you make them look like editorial pages, you will attract about 50% more readers. Advertisements ordinarily work their wonders, to the extent that they work at all, on an inattentive public. Advertising is a business of words, but advertising agencies are infested with men and women who cannot write. They cannot write advertisements, and they cannot write plans. They are helpless as deaf mutes on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera. Social media is an advertisement for the superficial extroverted self. As a mom, I know it is my responsibility, and no one else's, to raise my kids. But we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean when so many parents are finding their best efforts undermined by an avalanche of advertisements aimed at our kids? This is our commitment to users and the people who use our service, is that Facebook's a free service. It's free now, it will always be free. We make money through having advertisements and things like that. Dealing with ads is depressing. You don't make anyone's life better by making advertisements work better. When you think about advertisements, it makes sense that they want to hold and retain our attention. When I was working at the game company, I wasn't just doing graphic design, I was doing the entire product management, so I would do the graphic design, I would create the advertisements, even the catch copies. I would figure out what kind of packaging and design of the packaging, so I was basically doing total product management at that time. Politeness and civility are the best capital ever invested in business. Large stores, gilt signs, flaming advertisements, will all prove unavailing if you or your employees treat your patrons abruptly. The truth is, the more kind and liberal a man is, the more generous will be the patronage bestowed upon him. I had thought that Tokyo would be like New York City, but it wasn't. I'd imagined that they'd be similar in their bustle and noise level, but, in fact, Tokyo is a very calm metropolis. The bright lights and hectic nightlife images so often found in advertisements and Western media do not reflect everyday Japan. I'm a sexual person, and that's reflected in my clothes and my advertisements. I did not feel evil when I wrote advertisements for Puerto Rico. They helped attract industry and tourists to a country which had been living on the edge of starvation for 400 years. We read advertisements to discover and enlarge our desires. We are always ready, even eager, to discover, from the announcement of a new product, what we have all along wanted without really knowing it. People looking at advertisements or reading their local newspapers would have had no idea that what they were reading was bought and paid for with their tax dollars. The thing that is being lost is heritage. In Africa, religion and advertisement and television and media hype have gotten Africans to where they are convinced psychologically that their own heritage is heathen, pagan, barbaric, savage, primitive. A lot of the advertisement is done by saying, first of all, have a complex about who you are. It strikes me as bad manners for a magazine to accept one of my advertisements and then attack it editorially, like inviting a man to dinner then spitting in his eye. A good advertisement is one which sells the product without drawing attention to itself. Promise, large promise, is the soul of an advertisement. We used to get published a lot, and there was this vodka advertisement. It embarrassed me a lot afterwards. The art of advertisement, after the American manner, has introduced into all our life such a lavish use of superlatives, that no standard of value whatever is intact. The most excellent and divine counsel, the best and most profitable advertisement of all others, but the least practiced, is to study and learn how to know ourselves. This is the foundation of wisdom and the highway to whatever is good. Every advertisement should be thought of as a contribution to the complex symbol which is the brand image. Living in an age of advertisement, we are perpetually disillusioned. The perfect life is spread before us every day, but it changes and withers at a touch. People ask, how does doing a film compare to doing an ad? Well, when you're doing a commercial you don't have to sell tickets. You have a captured audience. Which is actually completely rare and great. It gives you a lot of freedom. When you make a film, you have to do advertisements for the film. The challenge is to reach out to everyone, especially those who have fallen for fake news and misleading advertisements. This government, for 56 months, misled the people by saying Modi didn't let them work. I believe in advertisement and media completely. My art and my personal life are based in it. I think that the art world would probably be a tremendous reservoir for everybody involved in advertising. If there are signs that Americans bow to the gods of advertising, there are equally indications that people find the gods ridiculous. It is part of the popular culture that advertisements are silly. The right name is an advertisement in itself. The vast majority of Americans agree with us. We're doing everything that we can. We're advertising. Right now we're on television with an advertisement running in the Washington area. We've got newspaper ads. I'd love to look incredibly glamorous, but I am a wholesome, comforting nanny type. I think I look like an advertisement for wholemeal flour or something. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.